I'm going to start off this discussion of F# looking at variables. And this might seem like a simplistic place to start, but we're going to see that if you've used something like C# or Java in the past, that the way variables are handled in F# is significantly different. I want to take just a minute and introduce the application that I'm using, Xamarin Studio. Now, the reason I'm using Xamarin Studio instead of Visual Studio, even though I'm on Windows, is because Xamarin Studio is cross-platform. It's available for both the Mac and for Windows. And all you'll need to do to get it is you just need to go to xamarin.com, and you'll need to create an account if you don't have one already. And then you'll need to go over here to Products and Xamarin Platform and click on the Download Now button. Fill out the form, click on the download link, and it'll download a small installer application that will then download and install the real thing. And it takes a little bit. It's well over a gig download, so go have lunch or something while it's working. But when you're done, you'll have Xamarin Studio with F# support out of the box. And then what you'll need to do is you'll just need to create a new console project under .NET, create an F# project, and then you'll be ready to go. So without any further ado, let's take a look at variables. So first of all, let's just go ahead and write some code to create a variable in F#. And that's all there is to it. Now there are several things to note here. First of all, the let keyword. Don't try to associate this with var in JavaScript or even really var in C#. Let is the keyword that we use to tell F#, hey, we're about to create a variable. I obviously is the name, but notice that we're not declaring a type for I. And this is because F# supports type inference. Then obviously we are assigning the value 42 or binding the value 42 to I. And then finally, notice that there's no semicolon at the end of this statement. And that kind of, if you will, syntactic cruft that C-style languages require, it's often not necessary in F#. So let's run this code. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to select all of the code, and then I'm going to press Control Enter. And what Control Enter does is, you can see here it says send selection to F# interactive. So F# has an interactive mode. So if you've used like JavaScript developer tools, or if you've used Python interactive, you know it's a REPL, read, evaluate, print loop, that will execute code as you feed it to the interpreter. So what I'm going to, in the shortcut for this is Control Return. So I'm going to hit Control Return or Enter, and it's going to pop up this F# interactive window down here, and it's going to give me the results of executing this line. And it's telling me that it's created a value I, it's inferred that it's an integer because 42 is an integer and the value is 42. Okay, great. So let's try a little experiment here. Now, I'll explain more about this syntax when we get to functions later, but basically what this is going to do is this is going to print out the value of I with the text before. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to assign the value 43 to I, and then we will print out the value of I again. Okay? You see that we're getting a squiggly here, which means that something might be wrong. Red is error. This kind of bluish gray is a warning. But I'm going to hit Control A and Control Enter. And we're going to see that before the assignment, I is 42, and after the assignment, I is 42. And this is not what we expected. So let's see what happened. Well, it turns out that variables in F#, unless you tell F# otherwise, are immutable, meaning they cannot be changed. And this is something that's pretty common in functional languages. So is that why we're getting this error or this squiggly? No, it's not. It's because F# is saying, hey, this is a legal expression in F#. But it has a type of bool, but in that return value is not being used. So you either need to ignore it or you need to bind it using a let expression. So let's go ahead and do that. And now, this is how we would print out the value of something that's not an integer. Control A, Control Enter, and you're going to see that it comes out false. So this is actually a Boolean expression. Why? Well, because since variables are immutable in F#, F# says, hey, in this case, I'm just going to repurpose the single equals operator, and I'm going to use it to compare I to the value 43, because I know I can't use it to assign I the value 43. And therefore, this returns a Boolean. 42 is not equal to 43, so it's false, stores it in X, and we see down here that X is a Boolean equal to false. Now, there are some cases in which you might want to make a variable mutable. Can you do this? Absolutely. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove all of this, and to make a variable mutable, you simply use the mutable keyword. Okay, let's run this, and turns out the only thing that's really changed is that now I is a mutable value. So what happened here? Well, it turns out that now we have ambiguity here with this expression. F# does not know whether we're trying to assign a new value to I, since I is now mutable, or whether we want to compare a value to I. So what it does is it says, I'm going to just make the assumption that you want to compare the value, but we want to change it. So F# introduces this operator, which is basically saying take the value 43 and now store it in I. And this only works if I is a mutable variable. And now we'll see that we get the result that we wanted. And just for experimentation, you'll see that now we get an error because this value is not mutable.